Hello and welcome to this site. I'm so glad that you found your way here. You know, I was a young woman, a teen actually, when I discovered the power of storytelling. I had been raised in an all-white neighborhood, and back then I was always told stories about them. Them was anybody that we weren't. But luckily in high school I had some adult mentors who took me across what we in Chicago called the color line. And I met them, and I heard their stories, and my whole life changed. I met some African American adults who told me what their lives were like. Now, all the time growing up, I had heard that they didn't take care of their houses. And that day, I met people who told me, like this one woman, about how she had been to the emergency room that day because the ceiling in her living room had collapsed in on her niece and nephew, and they'd been injured. The mostly white landlords in that neighborhood just refused to fix the houses because they just felt like they didn't have to. I met an elderly man who had been trapped in his third-floor apartment for weeks because the landlord refused to fix the stairs. I wondered, why hadn't I heard these stories? And what difference might it have made if the white communities and black communities had heard each other's stories? I continued to be interested in communications. I worked as a corporate scriptwriter for many years as I raised my children. And one day I heard a professional storyteller, and my life changed again. I had always loved folk tales and proverbs and such, but I began to learn about the art of personal storytelling. And I used those stories as a storyteller, but also in keynote speeches, and I even did some stand-up comedy and started to write memoir material. So as an artist, as an educator, as an author, I became more and more interested in bringing my two worlds together, the diversity and anti-racism training I was doing and storytelling, because I realized that even in inclusion kind of work, you could still get into these very subtle us and thems. When people started to hear each other's stories, an interesting thing happened. More often the response was, "Me too." We became an us. And so more and more as I would perform or do workshops, people would come up and say, well, how do you get so much meaning in a story? Or how is it that you can talk about what we would consider difficult subjects and yet people seem to be enjoying themselves and feel empowered instead of guilty and discouraged? So it became natural that I would start to teach other people how to use this tool of storytelling. Now I work with hundreds of nonprofits, corporate, business, other people, so they can learn this incredible power of persuasion, this marketing tool, this communication tool called storytelling. So I hope you'll come back to this site. Please sign up, please subscribe so we can tell you about web TV and podcast and all the membership courses and such that we have. I hope you'll come back and visit often, and most of all, I hope you'll enjoy. Thank you.